Jeff Stelling of Afton Mountain, Virginia. Not this one, but this is a banjo I brought tonight that was made by Jeff right over the mountain there. He's retired now. And I pick it up, and I couldn't get any better. Well, as a kid, I'd been a collector. So I said, well, I'm going to get to him one of these days. I kept collecting banjos and filling the closet up. So fast forward 10 years, now I'm running a company up in Canada. Stock prices up, profits are up, board of directors happy, everybody's happy. I'm not happy because I'm stressing out, and those tomatoes started to give me real problems. They were giving me acid reflux, and I was combating it by consuming massive quantities of antacids. Well, I had reached a point in life where many people do, where you realize if you're going to get to something, you better get to now. At the time, I was 61 years old. I had a closet full of banjos, couldn't play them, and I'd gotten inspired to play because I'd started to attend banjo camp. It's as geeky as it sounds. 200 musicians descend upon a college campus for a weekend to try to play. Well, it inspired me so much, I decided to quit my job. So I quit my job as the CEO of a company up in Edmonton, Alberta, on a Monday morning. And 2 weeks to the day later, I was told I had a 50% chance of living a year. Stage 3B esophageal cancer. 5-year survivability probability, 14%. Well, I was in shock. I was scared to death. So what was I going to do? Well, I decided to control what I could, which was my attitude, and I threw myself into trying to learn to play the banjo. It represented hope, a future, and life, and that embarked me upon a journey that brings me to this stage today. Now, the banjo is a very complicated instrument in terms of its history. If you go to Appomattox, Virginia, you're going to see a historical marker there claiming some white gentleman from Appomattox is the inventor of the banjo. Well, that's not true. It's an African instrument. And this instrument I've got tonight is very much like what the African instrument would have been. It's a gourd. This has got a modern neck on it, but the original gourd banjos would have had a stick with catgut strings. But when you hear this instrument, you'll hear the roots of blues music as well. Yeah, we're in tune. You can hear those slides. Well, here in Virginia, we're lucky. It's an area where there's a rich musical heritage, and certainly the banjo plays a big part of it. We're right here at the Crooked Road, which celebrates the heritage of the people that settled the area. It was largely Scott-Irish populations. And this, of course, is a more modern banjo, an old-time banjo. And when I hear this instrument played in Southwest Virginia, I hear the vestigial sounds of bagpipes. Going back to those Irish days. I'm going to play a song that's a British song. Many of you have heard this song. It's called Shady Grove, and there's hundreds of versions of this. But when I hear it, I hear those bagpipes. Bagpipes in there. Yep. Now, part of my journey took me along the Crooked Road to an iconic venue called the Floyd Country Store. Those of you who've been up there know that on Sundays they have jams. And I joined a circle of musicians there, and that's where I ultimately find healing, both emotional and physical healing. The circle of musicians is very welcoming. They bring anybody in. I was intimidated to go to the jams up there, but when I walked into my first jam, I realized everybody had a big smile on their face. A third of the people were out of tune, a third of them were out of time, a third of them were playing something different than the rest, but they were all having a great time. And they accepted me into that circle. And it was there that I finally, the mysteries of the music finally unraveled for me. I finally made those connections in a supportive group of musicians. And I end up writing a story about all that. That's the gist of an 80-minute show that we've been doing. And the most inspiring thing about it for me has been there isn't a show that we do that somebody doesn't come out of the audience with their own story. Everybody's got a story. And places like the spot on Kirk is how those stories can get told, because who else would have allowed me on a stage to write, workshop, and ultimately tell that story? And you shouldn't have to wait for a cancer diagnosis to get your banjos out of your closet. Everybody's got something in their closet. And, I grew up in a generation where you had to be great at everything. But what I recognized at the Floyd Country Store is just playing was enough. It was good enough. I was good enough. And I encourage people, I challenge people at the end of every show I say, what's in your closet? It sounds like a credit card commercial, huh? Yeah. What do you have in your closet? And why is it in there? And why aren't you doing something with it? Why don't you take it out? Why don't you do good with it? This has been the journey of a lifetime. When I was a CEO, if I did well, people made money. That was okay. I taught university. You'd see a light bulb or two go off in the room. That was cool. But this has been an adventure. And next Thursday, when I open up in Edmonton, not only will that be our $1 millionth, but to the day, that'll be my 9th anniversary. So, knock on wood. We're going to keep doing this show as long as we can. Hopefully we can bring it here. Like we've done it a couple times here at the Spot with the larger theaters in town. I'm become David Hasselhoff. My audience is in Scotland. I live a block away. But we'll get one of these local theaters to bring it in and maybe raise some money for some of these worthy charities, because every show we designate a charity we're raising money for, and we always keep it local. So,
wonderful.
Thank you.
Keith Allesi. Keith Allesi, thank you so much. What a wonderful story. Now, Keith is one of the many people who make the Spot on Kirk so fantastic. One of the main ones is Bruce C. Bryan, who was the founder and board president of the Spot on Kirk. He is also the founder and president of the Roanoke marketing agency 5 Points Creative. And for his regular segment, we have the no budget nonprofit marketing minute that Bruce is serving up back there at the bar. Bruce, take it away.
Hey, nonprofit friends, not everyone donates to your organization for the same reason. You may believe that they're deeply connected to your cause and to give to help further your work, and some do. But others donate for different reasons. Some want to gain notoriety. Some want to attend the next big function you have. Some have their arms twisted by a big client or their boss. And some are looking for marketing, coverage, promotion, or notoriety. Some want to be seen as a community partner and a generous person or company. When taken on their own, none of these are bad reasons for someone to give. It's okay for people to give to you for a wide range of motives. What's not okay is for your nonprofit to give a cookie cutter story to everyone you talk with. No, no, no. Instead, start with uncovering what those donors need. Then shift your story to match up with the reason why people are wanting to give to you. Now you're playing the matching game. And winning at that means winning for your organization.
Oh, thank you so much, Bruce.
Very nice, Bruce.
And let me tell you, storytelling is what connects people, absolutely. And I just want to bring up our next guest, Apple Ridge Farms, which works to transform the life of communities of underserved children, families through engagement, and unparalleled education, cultural, and outdoor experiences.
All right, we have one quick video that'll better highlight the great work that Apple Ridge Farm does. Rob, take it away.
Apple Ridge Farm is a nonprofit organization in Roanoke, Virginia, dedicated to transforming the lives of our community's underserved children and families through engagement in unparalleled educational, cultural, and outdoor experiences. Founded in 1978 by educator and visionary Peter Lewis, Apple Ridge has always been a safe haven for our most at-risk youth from its humble beginnings. Over the last 45 years, Apple Ridge Farm has served over 80,000 youth. The organization has become a cornerstone for closing the educational achievement gap and sowing the seeds of potential in our children. Always free of charge to our students and their families, Apple Ridge Farm is perhaps best known for its academic summer camp. Apple Ridge also operates programs both at the farm and in the school system. We offer environmental education field trips, team building experiences like our Get Outside program, and in-school programming like our mentoring program Aspire Mindsets and our 21st Century after-school programming. We believe that academic support and success are essential components in positively building self-esteem in our youth. With stronger self-esteem, our children will believe in the possibility that they can reach their dreams. Our job is to see them as the amazing seeds of potential that they are, and nurture them until they can see that in themselves. Thank you for coming along with us in our mission to help kids grow.
All right,
Well, so
Josh
I
Temke, Executive Director of Apple Ridge Farms. Thank you for coming up, Josh.
All right, Josh,
Thank you very much. Come on in.
welcome. Grab a seat, grab a mic.
Do all the things. Enjoy. Get
I will
comfortable.
do all the things.
So, Josh, describe, for starters, kind of the typical child that comes to Apple Ridge Farm.
Sure, yeah. They come in many shapes and colors, but most of our students come from the northwest quadrant of Roanoke City, a good percentage of the. All of our students live under 200% of the federal poverty guideline. So we screen students through the registration process at the beginning of each year for academic summer camp. We'll have roughly 400 kids apply for anywhere between 120 and 150 spots, depending on the year. And so of those kids, we accept them on a first come, first served basis with a couple qualifiers, most of the most important one being family income. So all of our families live under 200% of that federal poverty guideline. So about 75% of our students' families take home less than $10,999 a year. So these are kids that couldn't afford to go to a summer camp on their own.
These are kids whose lives basically revolve around Northwest Roanoke, just staying within that kind of that general
Their neighborhood.
jurisdiction.
That's
Yeah,
it.
the
Very
neighborhood.
much so. Yeah, Roanoke's such an outdoor community, but we forget sometimes that there's a giant population of our neighbors that don't get to experience that. For lack of a better word, they're stuck in the city. Not that it's not a wonderful city to be stuck in, but there's plenty to see out there. And so when they come up to the farm, it's kind of a new world for them. So
Yeah, what's that like?
They're not used to that environment at all.
What is the reaction of a child when they come to Apple Ridge Farms, especially for that first time? I just can imagine the awe.
It is. It's shock and awe, for sure. A lot of fear at first, to
okay.
be honest. They tend to be scared of the environment because it's so different from what they're used to. And we use that to our advantage programmatically. I mean, it's great for us to get them outside of their comfort zone in a world that they've never been in, for them to explore a part of themselves that they probably can't do down here in Roanoke. So I think of, when I think of that first kid coming to camp, I think of a little girl that we just called Auntie. This was a couple years ago. Honest to God, today, I still don't know her name. We just called her Auntie because she looked like someone's aunt. She came off the bus. It was a changeover week, so we had some new kids, and I was sitting on my golf cart as I do, watching the kids come down off the bus, and this girl walked off in like a Sunday dress, stockings, and black penny loafers. And so she stood out like a sore thumb. She also had an overnight bag and a sleeping bag. We're a day camp, so she was very, very lost. We took her aside, got her some clothes, got her fixed up, but she just wasn't prepared for the environment that she was going into. I saw her a couple days later into camp, sitting at the edge of one of the lunch tables, so I went over and talked to her and checked in just to make sure she was feeling comfortable and feeling at home now. And I said, "Hey, Auntie, how's it been?" And she said, "This is the best summer camp I've ever been to." And I was surprised by that, because most of our students don't get to go to other summer camps. But if their parents are diligent enough, there are some scholarships available to some of the other local camps in Southwest Virginia. So she was fortunate enough to have a parent that was, focused to do that. And so I asked her what she loved about Apple Ridge so much, thinking it was going to be, the outdoor space, the pool, the high ropes, the low ropes, the basketball, baseball, whatever.
Yeah.
My typical answer. And what she said really shocked me, which was, she said, I've never been in a place that looks like this, full of people that look like me. And that really hit home. And honestly, initially it did not hit home because my first thought was, no one looked like you when you first got here. But as it settled in, I started to realize that there's an entire population of kids in our city that don't feel at home in a place that's extraordinary. And we feel at Apple Ridge that it's our responsibility to do that. So that's the goal. That's what we're trying to get. We're trying to get that feeling of, I can't believe this place has been waiting for me to come. Yeah.
And ultimately, your goal is not just to provide like this short-term experience for these children, but really some kind of lifelong opportunity that maybe this experience kind of opens up for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we want to see our kids grow for sure. And we want to see them come back if we can. And we've got, there's been many wonderful Apple Ridge success stories. And we always say that you can pick an Apple Ridge kid out of a crowd. And I've tested it, and it's pretty accurate. They tend to have charisma about them, a sense of confidence, a polite attitude that stands them apart from their peers. We're very old-fashioned up there. It's yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Mr. Lewis would have it no other way. So we kind of instill that in our kids. And that and the other character developing things we do throughout academic summer camp tends to come home with them. And we see changes in them over time, and they kind of continue to morph further and further into that Apple Ridge kid. And when I say Apple Ridge kid, I mean our director of programs, Jordan Bell, he's our shining example of what an Apple Ridge kid was. He came to Apple Ridge Farm 25 years ago at the age of 9 as a camper. And he never left. He started as a camper, eventually became a junior counselor, then he became a summer camp teacher, then he was a summer camp coordinator, and today he's our full-time director of programs, running all of our programs at the farm. And so he's just one of examples of many folks that we've been able to have up there at our time.
And I know Jordan well, and not only is he a great example and leader at Apple Ridge Farms, but throughout the city of Roanoke.
Absolutely.
So wonderful. Well, Josh Timke, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
all the work that you're doing at Apple Ridge Farms. Let's hear it one more time for Josh and Apple Ridge Farms. And at this point, I want to get all of our guests up here on stage with us to close us out tonight. Get on up here.
Come on up,
Yep,
come
yep,
on
yep.
up. We have to thank Spot on Kirk, of course, and Bruce Bryan, and our sponsors of tonight's show, which is the Friends of the Blue Ridge, which they work to build better community throughout the Blue Ridge region like all of you guys do.
Next week, we're back here next week, we will have Jacqueline Nunciato of Huddle Up Moms talking about the new diaper bank that they're creating here in Roanoke, as well as Abby Hamilton of United Way of Virginia's Blue Ridge with musical guest, the Alma Ensemble, an all-women trio performing music just by women. So, thank you again for everyone being here tonight. To close us out, Keith, could you give us a tune? All right. Thanks so much for being here, everybody.